Welcome to the FedTrends show. This week we're talking about government opportunities and how to find them. Now, there are a lot of tools and a lot of websites out there that provide different kinds of access to forecasts and lists of government opportunities. A lot of the ones are free. Some of those are government, some of those are private sites. The private sites that are free mostly provide an extract of free government information that they might display a little differently, or they've connected to it and try to make it a little bit easier to understand. Now, a lot of those free sites, what you find is that it's only active bids. You can't get ahead of or prepare for things. It's mostly what's on the street right now, which means you're in the middle of the procurement process, and that's not when you want to start thinking about an opportunity. Now, a lot of times, companies will have existing subscriptions to the pay sites. Now, GovWin's one of the most prominent ones. I've had subscriptions to it for years through multiple different companies. And recently I started to look around for what other tools are out there for various reasons. The paid tools that I've seen are not really that user-friendly, or you run into the paywall all the time. You work, whatever organization that you work for, you find a tab that says, oh, here's more information about this agency or this opportunity. And then what happens? You click on it and it says, oh, by the way, your company doesn't have this. It's even more money. And we're talking a lot of money, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 a year for some of these add-ons. So there had to be something better, right? Well, it turns out that there is. HigherGov. Now, let me tell you why I like HigherGov. Now, first off, the opportunity searching is just easier and better. Now, when you pull up HigherGov, what you're going to see is a very clean, kind of low graphics mode site, which is okay. It's not all that exciting looking, but it's clean and it works quickly. Opportunity searches actually come up. Now, a lot of times when I've looked for an opportunity, you go in and type in, for example, U.S. Agency for International Development, headquarters IT support. And somehow what you get are commodity buys. You get things for where they've bought laptops. They've purchased laptops out of a mission post somewhere in sub-Saharan Africa. What you don't get is anything about their headquarters or anything about their IT. HigherGov actually, whatever search engine they're using, actually pulls up real opportunities that what you're trying to look for. It just works better. That might not sound like a very high bar for success, but in these search tools, it actually is. It's the best one that I've used. It actually allows me to find things I'm looking for, and that's a huge plus. Number two is the ability to look for partners. The previous tools that I've used, it was really difficult to figure out who'd won what awards and what contract vehicles they might have. In HigherGov, after you find an opportunity, it'll tell you who the incumbent is, and it traces all through. All the links always work. It pulls you up into what kind of work that company does and what contracts they've been awarded. Similarly, if you pull up an agency, the top vendors and their awards are all right there. It's really easy. If you've never used one of the expensive tools that are kind of industry standard, you have no idea how frustrating they usually are, at least to me. So that part works really well. There's a specific tab for vehicles. So when you're looking at contract vehicles, whether that be something like CIOSP3, OASIS, GSA STARS, other sites commonly just treat that like a contract. And so it's a record in there in its own, just lost in a million other opportunities. HigherGov tracks them as actual contract vehicles, which is really the way that you generally end up looking for them. So that's great. Tied with that, another great feature is when it's your research tool, you can actually pull in e-buy and customer-specific task orders. So if there's a customer-specific forecast, if they have a site, if your customer has a site where they post task orders, you can have HigherGov tie into that and pull in information. So that's really helpful. There's some other things that kind of ended up, they're nice to have. They're not critical. The first couple things I talked about, really finding opportunities and partners and vehicles, are like the big important collection of features. But rate analysis is a tool that's there, so that specifically for the federal market, by different labor categories, different agencies, it'll help you identify what likely labor rates and bid rates would be for for a given opportunity or for an agency. That's helpful. There's other tools that do that, but it's nice to have that functionality there in your opportunity search tool. There's pipeline functionality. So I'm not going to say that if you're a $300 million organization or that you're going to want to dispatch your pipeline tool and pick up HigherGov to replace that. But if you're getting started, or just as an individual user, you want to have a way to organize the opportunities you're looking at, that pipeline functionality is actually very good just to create looks at different collections of opportunities. And the last thing I'll say about it is all these features, they actually work. I've been very, very impressed by HigherGov's just the functionality and the dependability that when you are looking for a search, you actually get the results that you would hope you would get back. So that's been very impressive. The other thing, which is at least half of it to me, is that when you look at their pricing model, first off, they are very transparent. There's no getting in contact with some representative or anything like that and hoping to get a quote back. It's $500 for 1 year for one user. Here's what I'd recommend. If I'm sitting inside of an organization that has tools that aren't benefiting me, I'd come out of pocket and pay $500 for a year to have access to something like this, so that when I'm doing my own business development, my own capture, my own account planning, I've got a better source of data than just relying on the tools the company has already paid for. It scales up. When you go to 10 users, it's $2,500 a year, and then up to 50 is $5,000. That's fantastic. And the ability to just add users when you need it and not have some long-term, multi-year, complex, convoluted contract is a big thing for me as somebody that has run BD budgets, trying to plan around these tools. Because if you ever wanted to switch in the middle of a multi-year agreement, how do you do that? HigherGov doesn't lock in like that. So an absolute recommendation from me. I think you should check it out. It gives you a free demo for a couple of weeks so that you can go in and look around the tool. And then again, $500 a year, it is, from a frustration factor alone, instead of having to go through, comb through, eBuy or wherever for some of this information, I've been very, very impressed with it. I hope that helps. Thank you so much for watching. Talk to you next time.